Donald J. Trump. I've got a word for you, just one word. Impeachment, 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 impeachment.
Hello and welcome to the show. Colourful conversations with clergyman Pete and businessman Mark. This week we ask the question, will Donald Trump be impeached? So the US President Donald Trump has responded to speculation that he might be impeached by warning that any such move would damage the economy. In a recent media interview, he said that the market would crash and everybody would be very poor. Now, he was speaking after Michael Cohen, his ex-lawyer, pleaded guilty to violating election laws and said he had been directed to do so by Mr. Trump himself. So, what does this all mean? It's getting very bitter. In fact, the Democrats seem to be absolutely hell-set on trying to remove Donald Trump. This situation is getting very bad. So, Mr. Trump, how bad this situation can possibly get? Is it right that maybe you're hiding something? Maybe you're not. But whatever we think about the situation is getting very, very bitter. It's almost like bitter fruits. So, Donald Trump, if your plum job is impaired with impeachment and it's a banana skin slipping from power, perhaps it's the entangled political grapevine that's making things turn sour. If the current climate makes you blow a raspberry to the oath that you swore, beware the rhubarb that reveals you're a lemon and rotten to the core. So, Clergyman Pete, should Donald Trump be impeached? Or maybe he's an innocent man?
Well, there's two sides to what you've just said, businessman Mark. Donald Trump, I would not describe him as an innocent man in the sense that he's contravened what might be called the moral law, I would say, in his publicly acknowledged dalliances, sexual dalliances. He has behaved in a way which you wouldn't describe as innocent, but is he guilty of something for which you should be impeached? But the simple answer is no, he hasn't, and there is no evidence that he's done anything that could rise to the level of high crimes and misdemeanors, which is what is stated in US law as being the reason that you have to look for if an impeachment of a president occurs. Now, there's only been two sitting US presidents have been impeached. They were later acquitted anyway, so it didn't go any further. So has he? No, I don't. He hasn't done anything that should result in impeachment. But should he be impeached anyway as a political way of removing him? Well, that's another matter. That's up to the House. If they want to vote that way, I think that's their right. I guess they can vote how they want.
Well, it's true, but I think we just need to clear something up here, because how has Donald Trump contradicted himself? Now, it comes back to some of the public comments back in April about his alleged affair with Stormy Daniels, and Mr. Trump denied knowing about $130,000, which is about £100,000 payment, to the actress via his former his lawyer, Cohen. And this is where it starts to get a little bit murky, because was that something which is contributing to his campaign? Was it a matter for something which is on a personal level? And what I probably would cut through here is that actually, to be honest, whether this is to do with contravening any kind of campaign laws or not, is it possibly not something where just the Democrats are trying to scrape the barrel on anything, just to remove him and impeach him on anything, even if it was just about whether, he did something wrong at school, when he was 6 years old, right the way through to, where he is today. Is it just really, he's just being attacked from all sides, and really the man is just there to be removed, and he can never do any right. Is that right? Would you say?
Yeah, I think that is right. I think it's this has been characterized by Donald Trump himself as a witch hunt, or at least part of the witch hunt. As you know,
Yeah.
there's attempts
And which
to
witch is which?
there's attempts to get him impeached for other supposed crimes like collusion with the Russians, which
Yes.
also is not a crime. I mean, yes, I do think
Yes,
that
dealing with the Russians is not a crime.
yeah, this thankfully. Otherwise, there'd be no trade going there at all. I mean,
Exactly.
look, the thing is that it's so obvious that this is an attempt to overturn the results of a legitimate election that it's almost never said. I mean, it's just so obvious. Well, partly because it's so obvious, but of course there is this major problem that they have in the United States in the media, in that the media is all left-wing biased. Now, we have that problem in Britain as well, not quite to the same extent. It's not, as in Britain, it's not quite that it's left-wing bias. It's that it's left-wing and big government and what's called deep state biased. By the deep state, we mean the sort of permanent staff in government rather than the politicians who run the show behind the scenes. And they want to keep on running the show, and they don't want presidents like Donald Trump who think just because he's elected he can do what he likes, which is...
Well, that's the problem, because he does seem to operate that way.
Yes, he seems to... He seems to be of the mind that he's not to be controlled by these mandarins in government positions, these officials, and of course he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be pushed around. But the impeachment process, however, is not down to them. The impeachment process is a political process. It ends up being that because. First of all, there's two houses of parliament effectively in America. There's the Congress and then there's the Senate. Now, if in the Congress they vote to impeach the president, all that means is that the accusations have been levied. It would be the same as an indictment from a court. Of someone else, but for president it's called impeachment, a different word. But then, because there are two houses, then the Senate also needs to approve of it. And the two presidents that have been impeached, the Senate threw it out anyway, so it didn't go any further.
Just to clarify that point that you were saying, so it's the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
So any member can introduce a resolution of impeachment if they suspect the president guilty of treason, bribery, or other high crimes or misdemeanors. And the key is this, that the House of Representatives considers the set of charges. If a simple majority of 51% support impeachment, the process moves to a trial. To your point, which is that the Senate, the trial then begins, and then the Chief Justice of Supreme Court presides over it, while members of the House form the prosecution and senators act as the jury. But this is the other key, and this is where it gets even more complicated. At the end of the trial, a Senate vote delivers the outcome. If at least 2/3, 67% of senators find the president guilty, he is removed from office, and the vice president takes over for the remainder of the term. Yes, Mr. Pence, are you standing by?
Yes, I mean people were of course. I don't know if they had any reasons behind it, other than they want to cause trouble. Were accusing Pence of orchestrating the impeachment. I haven't seen any evidence of that, but also equally, I haven't seen any evidence, as I was saying at the start, of Donald Trump having done something that would mean you could legitimately impeach him. And so it would only be a partisan decision, that is to say, if Democrats, Donald Trump being a Republican, if Democrats...
It seems like a flimsy thing.
If Democrats won the House, is what I'm saying.
It seems awfully flimsy to get him on this subject. I mean, I think there are probably other bigger issues that potentially could cause him problems. I know that you mentioned about the Russian situation, which clearly is still lingering and still hasn't been resolved. I mean, there's a lot of mud being thrown at Donald Trump at the moment, but nothing's sticking.
No, nothing seems to stick. That's right. Now, it seems to me, just to approach this from a slightly different angle, it does seem that the Democrat opposition who are pushing for this impeachment are really making a tactical mistake here, in that if they wanted Donald Trump not to be re-elected, if they wanted to come across as credible in the midterm elections for the Senate and the House of Representatives in November, then what they would need to do, I would say, is just keep quiet. Where Donald Trump operates most effectively, we see, is when he's under fire. He manages what he would do. It's a bit like I suppose not political. Well, political maybe you would say PR jitsu. He uses someone in jiu-jitsu. You use the person's force against them, so they lunge at you. You move to one side and give them a kick, and they fall over, and have a bit of a laugh about it. But inside, because you're being cool. And now Donald Trump, he seems to be doing that with his political rivals. So when they come to this position, they want him to be indicted. They hang it all on indictment. When he isn't indicted, he'll go up in the polls. You see, he becomes popular because they've been seen to be malicious in their intent to get at him. So he'll become more popular. And I think that I don't see how he could have orchestrated this, but he's using the situation to his advantage by laying into people on Twitter, subject after subject he's bringing up, showing that he's very involved and needed, that he's a great president. You can see the difference. The cable news TV on one day in America used the word impeachment 222 times, which is why
that all?
Which is why I did that introduction to this episode. Impeachment. But the other interesting thing is that the concentration of Donald Trump, which you can look at his tweets. He had what they often call a Twitter storm over the weekend. He seemed to cover so many different subjects. Okay, so in the media, who have increasingly become sort of it's sort of like the Democrat Party with a screen. It's like the Democrats have their PR department, and it's called CNN. It's like that. It's like they're really part of the Democrat Party and deep state. Fighting for the same cause. And now they all have one focus. Let's impeach him. We've got to impeach him. Oh, no. And then Donald Trump's talking about all the different things that a president should. Foreign affairs, the problems in South Africa, the economy. It goes on and on and on, all the different areas he was touching on just in his tweets, showing that he has a good grasp of what's going on and he's doing something about it. Whereas the people on the other side, the Democrats and the media, but I repeat myself, they're just going for this one thing, impeachment, which it just sounds like we don't like the game, so we're taking the ball and we're going home. It just sounds so petty. So as long as he's not actually impeached, which is unlikely for two reasons. One is Republicans are very likely not to vote for impeachment.
That's right.
Therefore, if as looks likely, the Democrats don't regain the House in the midterms, it's just not going to happen. But anyway, it shouldn't happen. As I was saying, he hasn't done anything that's against the law. Certainly not a high scream or misdemeanor. I mean, we could. I don't know if you want to touch on that. We could touch just briefly. I would just say that the current fascination for impeachment comes from his lawyer Cohen's revelations that the payments made to pay off two women that Trump had supposedly or was accused of having affairs with were paid in order to make himself not look bad in the campaign for the primaries. Therefore, it was all the campaign for the whole of the campaign, but the campaign for primaries and president.
Yes.
Just to finish, he is allowed to give money to his own campaign. It was privately funded. So that's not illegal anyway. It's not against campaign regulations. as pointed out by Dershowitz, the great lawyer Dershowitz there in the US. And so he has, even if all that he's accused of he did, it's not against the law. So
No.
it looks like he's winning again.
Well, I think the real victim here is probably not being really identified. It's actually Cohen, because I think that one of the things that's going to happen here is that Trump will probably not be impeached on this particular matter, and Cohen probably will face some kind of prosecution, because Cohen actually released some audio tapes of him and Mr. Trump allegedly discussing one of the payments before the election. Now, this is where it gets very grey, because if you listen to some of the transcripts or read them, you realize that there's nothing that actually pins it down to a clear point of intent and where Trump has actually contradicted himself, i.e. lied. He hasn't impeached himself. And I think that if there is any wrongdoing, it's probably going to fall upon Mr. Cohen. And maybe the weeks and the months to follow could actually probably reveal this. It may actually sort of exonerate old Trumpy pants, and in which case, it'll move on to another issue, and maybe we'll be saying we'll be coming up with another impeachment angle from the Democrats. But I do think, though, that one thing that, and I know that we talked about this off air, which is about what is going on with the American system. It seems that the nation is so divided here that of all certainly the modern democracies that we know in the 21st century, the United States seems to be the most divided, really. I know that you can argue that even in Britain there's a divided country with the Conservatives and the Labour Party, but they do have a middle ground on many, many issues. But whereas in America, it just seems so divided that they just don't seem to be able to come to a position where they can agree on a president that can actually move them forward. Their economy is still in a bad way. They still have massive debt. They still have major issues internationally to resolve. And I know that Trump, certainly in the short term, and what I mean by that in the last year, has started to turn their economy around. Of course, it's the long term that matters. We know that our mantra. It's not about short-termism, it's about long-termism. Yes, but by removing the president at this point in time, I actually do agree with Donald Trump on this occasion. What is it going to achieve? I mean, he's not a bad person in the sense that I don't think there's anything that he's done that's truly illegal. The one thing that I think he has done wrong is that perhaps some of his moral rhetoric has perhaps been in question. He speaks too freely and quickly without thinking through what he does on Twitter, and maybe he's had some unfortunate affairs in the past. But does that mean that he's a bad president? I don't think so. And I think maybe what will happen is, if he isn't impeached, which I don't think he will be, I think he's going to be in a stronger position come the midterm elections. And I think what will happen is that the Democrats will have no way to remove him when they go into the second election, because I think he'll be in a stronger position. But this is the question, Clergyman Pete, I asked for you this question. Is Donald Trump starting to show signs of weakness here? His bombast seems to be not as great as it once was. Is he getting a little bit tired of all this? Is this going to weigh him down as an individual? What's your thoughts?
It's difficult to say, in that his manner, to me, seems the same. He seems to be just as aggressive, as you say, bombastic, and but he has amped it up a little bit. It seems to me that he's not so much bothered by it. He's getting angry, but thriving on it. He seems to really thrive on the antagonism. It seems to make him sharper, keep his interest. So I think as long as people keep up this play of impeachment, accusation after accusation, you're sort of playing in Donald Trump's safety, Donald Trump's playground, if you like. That's what that's what he loves to do, and so I think they're making a strategic mistake. I don't think Donald Trump will be impeached. I think, on the contrary, that that in the midterms you'll find that the Democrats do not make significant gains, and so the Republicans hold the Senate and the House. Now, this if that does happen as I'm just predicting, then that would be extraordinary for presidents at this point often do lose the midterms because as a counter to who they voted in as presidents. It's the same in Britain when we have a general election and then a local election, and they tend to swing the other way. But what's going to happen? Yeah, what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to say Donald Trump won't be impeached because there won't be enough votes to do it, carry it through. But also, the opposite is going to happen. Not only is he going to be impeached, by the time he comes to the re-election in 2020 as president, he'll be in such a strong position that by the fact that they haven't managed to get him impeached, that he'll get a second term.
Well, so what happens next? Well, as we draw some conclusions here on the Mark and Pete show, any action against Donald Trump is unlikely until after the midterm elections, which actually is on the 6th of November, some time to go, when the opposition Democrats will seek to break the grip of Mr. Trump's Republican Party on Congress. And in the meantime, Cohen may agree to testify to the inquiry into the alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. So Donald Trump, this is a little message from Mark and Pete. And as we start to sort of see that bombast sort of ebbing away, and maybe the quaff doesn't seem to sort of be quite so rigid as it once was and being a little bit more limp, maybe here's a thought for you. Maybe you're starting to flag. If you feel like a political punch bag, democracy soon begins to sadly sag. From Air Force One to more jet lag, presidential life can become a drag. If the stars and stripes start to zig and zag, and there are blurred lines that can cause a snag, and your reputation looks a little ragtag, just salute and raise a big white flag. I doubt that he'll probably do that. But anyway, listeners, what do you think about this? Do you think Donald Trump should be impeached? Why not log on to markandpete.com and let us know your thoughts. Listen to this and many other podcasts about Donald Trump and many other colourful subjects. So join us again next time for more colourful conversations with Clergyman Pete and Businessman Mark.